Can your melody be 10 times better? Can it be 10 times better in terms of its memorability, its singability, its impact, or its lifting of the human spirit, or its reachability, its ability to reach more people, or in its oomph? Better in terms of whatever metric you choose. In the movie The Guardian, Kevin Costner plays Ben Randall. Ben is a legendary Coast Guard rescue swimmer, and they would fly out on helicopter into perilous seas where there'd be high winds and huge waves, and they'd be risking their lives diving from the helicopter into the water to save people. The training is brutal. Ben is preparing them for high-risk situations. In the opening speech for the training, Ben says, "There will come a time where you might have to decide who lives and who dies." And then there's a question from the rookie. How do you choose who to save? And the answer Ben gives is, I swim as fast and as hard as I can for as long as I can, and the sea takes the rest. The application for us is that we are also in life and death situations for people. We're writing worship songs to draw them close to God, for people to be rescued from sin and death. And we as songwriters need to train hard to do this, to write songs that will reach people and impact them for Jesus. There's a scene in the movie that shows a brutal 1-hour water treading test. And in this test, one of them is this big, muscly guy, and he just can't do it, and he gives up. And he's told by Ben, first lesson in physics, people, muscle does not float. And it's the same with songwriting. It's not the impressive muscles. It's not the impressive things of a great production or a great vocal or fancy chords or a sick beat. But it's about the melody and the lyrics. Melody and lyrics win. These are the things that can lift a song. And these are the things that we need to train in when it comes to songwriting. We need to train in melody writing and in lyric writing. Now, the problem with melody is that it seems so immediate, and it seems so like it's already there, like you get the idea, and it's so it's something that we feel like we can't change. And we also maybe have written something and we love it so much because we've written it. Maybe we love the song so much because of, the great singing or the production or the chords or the lyrics or even the meaning of the song. But what we've got to do is strip all that away and think about the melody itself. It's the melody is the thing that will take your song further. It'll be the thing that people remember. It will be the thing that has the impact in people's lives. Obviously, the lyrics as well. But here we're talking about melody. Now, I'm going to show you how to unlock 10 times more potential in every melody that you write. When you use these principles, you never need to be stuck again. I'm going to give you 10 tips on how to write better melodies. Are you ready? Fasten your seatbelts. Let's go. Number 1, run it through the melody test. What do I mean by the melody test? What I mean is take away any production. And by the way, don't overproduce songs to begin with, because you're making the song sound great, but you haven't even worked on the melody. So don't put it in Suno or anything like that. That's just going to fool us into thinking that the song is great, but it's the production and the sound and the vocal that's great, but the melody itself is not great. So that's why I encourage you to strip everything else away and just focus on the melody. Record a voice memo of you singing through the song. Don't accompany yourself on an instrument, just your vocal. And also take away the lyrics. Just sing the melody on, O or R or something like that. Sing the melody from first verse right through into the chorus, second verse, chorus, whatever it is, double chorus, bridge, chorus, and then listen back to it. And you'll know when you're singing it as well, whether it's standing up to the melody test or not. And then as you listen back to it, just think about, is this engaging enough? Does it have the momentum all the way through? Particularly in the chorus, this is the part that's being repeated a lot in the song. So does the melody of the chorus withstand this test? Remember the 1 hour water treading test, all right? This is the test. And you need to pass, the song needs to pass the test, the melody test. And if there are parts in there that you're like, this is just not working, all right, the chorus or the verse or, whatever section it is, then that's where you need to put in the hard work. And hopefully these next few points will also help you with that. So the melody test, it's difficult, right? But it's easy to do. You can just take your song, sing the melody, and go through the song like that. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is follow. All right, what do I mean by follow? Well, Jimmy Webb, a great songwriter, he said about melody, he said, the key to writing interesting melody is to lead the ear on a path which is both pleasant and to some degree unexpected. He said it's to lead the ear on a path which is both pleasant and to some degree unexpected. So this second point here, follow, this is the word that Jimmy Webb uses, pleasant. Does your song follow some sort of way that other praise and worship songs do? Because what we're doing when we're writing praise and worship songs is that we're in this stream of, the history of hymns and, praise and worship. And so there's already a stream, something that is already happening. We've got to get into that stream. If you're writing something that's like way too kind of far away from that, then the song is just not going to land. It's not going to be built for church. It's not going to be built for praise and worship. So in some way, you've got to be following these kind of, normal ways of writing songs. It needs to be related in some way to, the praise and worship songs that have gone before. It follows something about the history of it. And that's why if you want to be a worship songwriter, you need to be a fan of praise and worship. And if you're not, then I encourage you to find worship, artists or churches where you do actually enjoy the songs that they're writing and listen to those songs. Find, something that you actually enjoy, and then you'll be able to write songs in that similar stream as well. And so that's point number 2 is follow. Need to follow that stream in some way. Number 3 is along, the other thing that Jimmy Webb says is that we need to lead the ear on a path which is both pleasant and to some degree unexpected. And so point number 3 is diverge. Use another kind of melody. Don't just stay, point 2 is follow. Don't just follow, because if you're doing that, then your song is going to be like every other song, and you don't want it to be, because that song's already written. All right, you've got to find the place for the song, the unique place. There's a reason why you're writing this song, and it needs to find its own unique place. So yes, point number 2, follow that stream, but also point 3 is diverge. In other words, go somewhere else. Make sure you're going somewhere else. Yes, be in the stream, but also go somewhere else. And if you find that your song is too similar to other songs, then there's this tool that I like to think about, transformations. Take your melody through a transformation. Think about, just try things. Your melody doesn't need to be what it is. It can be different. So take it through some transformations, some simple things like, I don't know, take what you've got, take that melody, that phrase, and make it longer. Just try it, all right? You're not going to hurt your melody. You can always come back to what you've got. Try something, a longer phrase or a shorter phrase, or try moving it a little bit more. If it's too stable, try moving it up. Try moving it, if it's going up, try going down. If it's got long notes, try short notes. If it's got short notes, try long notes. And something that I often do when I'm writing a song is I'll get to the stage where I'll think, is this too far away, from normal, praise and worship? I need it to go, be in the stream in some way. And so sometimes I'll think, okay, how would Chris Tomlin do this melody? And then I'll just go through and kind of Tomlify the melody. Now, I'm not going to go in and copy a Chris Tomlin melody, but I might go in and listen to a few songs and go, okay, let me take my melody and make it, 10% a little bit more like this. All right. 10% Tomlified or something like that. I like Chris Tomlin because he's, got melodies and songs that are very congregational, and I tend to want something different, which is great. You want something different, but also you want to be in the stream. Or there might be other writers that you enjoy. Just try thinking about how would, so-and-so take my melody and you rewrite it and make it a little bit more like them. So that's something that you can do with any melody that you've got, is take it through some transformations. You need never to be stuck with your writing, with your melodies. Yeah. Now, a great way for you to be diverging, point number 3, a great way for your song to be different and your melody to be different is to think about what it is you're writing. What's the meaning of the song? What kind of emotion are you trying to portray here? What kind of expression are you going for? And try to get into the specifics of that. And then think about what kind of melody would that look like or sound like, right? And then write the melody, point number 4, write the melody in character, in the character of the song. Because if you can do that, then you're not only making it different, you're also writing it in the character of the song. Marjorie Boulton said, "Originality is one of the perennial delights of poetry, and one of the curious facts about it is that what seems most original is also what is most true and exact." Let me say that again. Originality is one of the perennial delights of poetry, and one of the curious facts about it is that what seems most original is also what is most true and exact. In other words, rather than, just going for point number 3, which is diverge, rather than just trying to be original, rather than doing that, just think about the character of the song. What specific character do you want? And then write your melody in that way, because then you're doing 2 things. You're staying in character of the song, everything's working together, and then you also will come up with something that is original and different and unique. So that's point number 4. Point number 5 in how to write better melodies. Point number 5 is tell a story with your melody. As you're singing your melody, does it feel like you're telling a story? If not, that's what you need to do. Because as human beings, we are built for story. We are built to engage in story. And when we hear stories, that's when we light up, and that's when we listen. And so that's the wonderful thing about songwriting, is that it's about a story. And your melody needs to tell a story from beginning to end. It needs to follow some sort of structure. That structure, that normal structure, is a story laid out for you, and follow that structure so that there is an engagement along the way. Even in one section of your song, it needs to tell a story. Your melody needs to tell a story. Where in that section will you put a full stop? Or, maybe you've put a full stop where it needs to be a comma. We'll change your melody in that way so that it does that. Story also needs repetition. And this is one of the things that I find with beginner songwriters, is they're afraid of repetition. Or songwriters who want to improve or be original, they think that repetition, is elementary, all right? But repetition is such an important part of songwriting. And it's how we tell stories as well. Stories involve repetition. So don't be afraid of repetition. Use repetition or variation. It's going to help you to tell a story. Number 6, interrelated. Is there ways that you can change your melody so that the parts are related to each other? The chorus, maybe there's something in the chorus that where the verse, you can make the verse melody relate a little bit more to the chorus, because you want the song to feel whole. If you can do that, if you kind of, let's say, planting a seed in the verse where you've got like a smidgen of an idea of the chorus built into the verse in such a way where you have the story is being told, and then when you get to the chorus, that seed then has grown into something else. And there's that sense of arrival. There's that sense of, expectation. And when you get there, it's like, yeah, I got what I, wanted in this song. There's a sense of arriving there and getting something. And it's because you've built this interrelatedness between the sections. Try to do that in your song. Try that idea using a little bit of repetition or variation. Something that I also find with beginner songwriters or songwriters that, maybe it's as though you're trying too hard, to be great or whatever, trying too hard to be different, is don't have too many ideas in your song. Don't have too many melody ideas. If you can have better ideas in your song, better melodies, then you don't need to have all these different things going on. And that's kind of confusing to the listener as well. If you've got all these different melodies going on, there's a sense as though it's not really a song. It's just you're throwing these melodies together. But there needs to be an interrelatedness in the song. Like Jimmy Webb says it, lead the ear on a path that is pleasant. It's pleasant. It's, you arrive there and it's something that you've expected. So that's number 6. And then number 7 is kind of the opposite of that. Number 7 is contrast between sections, because you don't want to get from your verse into the chorus and it just feels the same. You need to have contrasting sections where when you go from the verse into the chorus, it immediately feels like a new section, and particularly for the chorus, it immediately feels like the main section. This is your main melody. This is your main hook. This is your best melody. And so make sure that, you've got this contrast between sections. And that's part of what Jimmy Webb is saying, is lead the ear on a path which is both pleasant and to some degree unexpected. So you get there, it's like, whoa, that's really cool. There's like a surprise there. Okay. Number 8, focused. You need to write your song in such a way where there is a focal point of the song, and in particular, a section of the song that is the focal point, the main part of the song. And that should really be the chorus. The chorus. That's how the story is built, right? So you've got your verse and you get to the chorus, and the chorus is the place where you're expecting, and that's the place where everybody wants to sing. That's where everybody wants to join in. Well, make sure that you've focused your listener so that, or the congregation member, so that when you get to the chorus, that is the focal part of the song. That is where you focus and you make sure that the chorus has your best melody. Your chorus is the place where it's the hook of the song. So if you've written your song and you play it to somebody and they go, oh, I just love that verse melody, you've got a problem. You should realize that you've got a problem, because if the verse is better than your chorus, then, the repeated part of your song, the chorus, is not your best part, and it needs to be, because it's going to be repeated. It's the main part of your song. And so you've got to go back to the drawing board and say, I've got to write a better chorus, or my chorus melodies need to be better. Or, something that maybe I often hear is, you play the song to somebody and they say, oh, that's a great bridge. I love that bridge. There again, you have a problem, all right? Because if you're going from this great bridge into a chorus that is a level down in terms of energy or impact or singability, if it's a step down, then you haven't really built a song that can sustain the story of the song. And so you've got to go back to the drawing board then and write a better chorus, a better melody for your chorus. So that's number 8, focused. And you can do that, right, by taking your melody, going through some transformations, or taking your melody and going, let me apply some, there might be a pop song or something like that, or something that, has a lot more energy. Try and think of your verse, play your verse, and then think about, okay, how can I make my chorus lift? And then try something else. All right. So that's number 8. Number 9 is consider your diet. Consider your diet. If all you're listening to is one type of genre, let's say praise and worship, if praise and worship is the only genre you're listening to, then normally, you'll be, you might be writing songs that are just too similar to all of those songs. So I'm encouraging you to expand your diet. Try listening out and finding other things that are different that you also enjoy. Expand your diet so it's just not just one thing, but you've got a variation of things that you're listening to that really inspires you. Number 10 is write more melodies, because there's always more. There is so much more in you. There's so much more creativity in you. The way to write better songs is to write more songs. If you've only written 10 songs this year and you want to be writing songs that you want to sing in church or something like that, you need to write a whole lot more songs. And you can, all right? There are ways that you can do that. Increase the number of songs that you are writing. And if you want to improve the particular song that you're working on right now, if you want to improve the melody of that particular song, let's say it's the chorus that, you feel like is not quite there, it's not quite landing. Well, write 5 brand new choruses, totally different choruses. Don't just try for the one. Go for 5 or more. Sit down and, sing your verse and then write a brand new chorus. give yourself 20 minutes to do that. And then the next 20 minutes say, all right, now I'm going to write a song that's a little bit more, got more energy or something like that. Write that kind of chorus. Give yourself 20 minutes and then tell yourself, okay, now I'm going to write a chorus that Phil Wickham would write, all right? And then go and write that, because what you're doing then is, you're fitting your song into the stream as well, but you're also trying to get yourself out of the rut of what you're doing. And so you can do that. Give yourself 20 minutes each, a brand new chorus. You've got so much more creativity in you. God has given you this gift. Use your creativity and write more melodies. That's number 10. Now, I've got a bonus point for you. Yes, it's not just 10. All right. I'm going to give you one more, number 11, because this is something that I often forget about. And it's something that I've realized is such a useful thing, is that I often am going around and, when I get an idea, I'm sure it's the same for you. When you get an idea for a melody, you're walking around, you're doing something, all right, but then you get your phone out and you record that idea. And you end up with a bunch of melody ideas. I encourage you to do that, but I often forget to actually go back and listen to those and write from one of those. So I encourage you, you've probably got a whole bunch of ideas. Why don't you actually go back and listen to those? And if there's a melody that you really love, we'll write a song from that. So I hope today has really helped you with your melody writing. 10 or actually 11 ways to write better melodies. I'd love to hear from you. What's been the most helpful thing that you've learned today? Which point stood out to you? Would you let me know in a comment below if you're on YouTube or on Spotify, and tell me what resonated with you the most? So I appreciate you being here with me today. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.